Hey everybody, what's up? Ehren here, Question Period Canada. These are going to be the highlights. It's no more just removal of translators and the delays that Greg Fergus throws in there. We're bringing you my favorite clips, the things that I think were most exciting from today's Question Period. We'll be doing this on a regular basis. 3 or 4 of the most interesting interactions. Let's get to it. I almost forgot. How are you today? We're going to kick it off with Pierre up to the batter's box. He's going to be asking CHYSTIA FREELAND a question, and that which voice is going to come back, condescending as always. Let's take a peek.
Feed Ontario, a coalition of food banks, released staggering numbers yesterday. 800,000 Ontarians went to the food bank 6 million times. This is a 36% increase, the biggest increase ever. If the total number of people who visited a food bank were a town, it would be the 4th biggest town in all of Ontario, Mr. Speaker. Will the Prime Minister therefore cancel his plan to quadruple the carbon tax on the farmers who feed us and pass common sense Conservative Bill 234 to carve out the tax for farmers?
Sure. The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, we know that things are challenging for Canadians right now. That is why we are there for them, building more homes faster, providing dental care for children and seniors, cutting child care fees by 50% across the country. And you know what, Mr. Speaker? The only thing that Conservatives know how to do is cut, cut, cut. They would cut child care, dental care, housing. Mr. Speaker, that's not common sense. That is nonsense.
Don't worry about it. CHYSTIA understands that it's tough for Canadians out there. It's ridiculous. Up next, John Barlow, a very sharp-shooting politician from Alberta. He's got questions for the Agricultural Minister. Let's see who answers. It's interesting.
Foothills.
Last year, almost 6 million Ontarians visited a food bank, an increase of more than 40%, the highest single increase ever recorded. Clearly, this Prime Minister's carbon tax plan is not worth the cost. Conservatives have a common sense Bill 234 in the Senate, which will reduce costs on farmers and make food more affordable for Canadians. But the Prime Minister is blocking this bill, forcing Canadians to food banks. Will the Liberal Minister of Agriculture do his job? Will he defend Canadian farmers, phone Liberal senators to support Bill C-234 to have this carve out for farmers and make food more affordable for Canadians?
The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker,
This question was for the Agricultural Minister, Lawrence Macaulay, but that's not who answered. Freeland just barges in. Let's check the rest out, see what happens. I'm sure that John notices.
And to invest in an economic plan for jobs and growth. That is why we are building housing, because we are focused on supply, supply, supply. That is why we have an economic plan which has made Canada the highest per capita foreign investment destination in the G7. Meanwhile, Mr. Speaker, the only thing that Conservatives know how to do is cut, cut, cut.
The Honourable Member from Foothills.
Well, it's good to see the Agriculture Minister stand
So he
up to
definitely
defend
noticed.
Canadian
He's
farmers.
pointing it out.
But if the Finance Minister's plan for Canadians is to cut meals, cut their heat, well, mission accomplished. Your carbon tax plan is working extremely well. But a common sense Conservative Bill, C-234, will provide a carbon tax carve-out for farmers and make food more affordable for Canadians. But the Prime Minister, as Environment Minister, has promised if this bill passes, he will resign. So is that why the Environment Minister is bullying senators in the Senate to block 234? Because he wants to save his job rather than ensure Canadians can afford to feed themselves?
I guess the Liberals can choose whoever they want to answer the questions, even when the question was specifically asked to a particular minister. I don't get it. Next, Kyle Seaback is up. He's an MP from Ontario. Really great questions, makes his point. He has a couple of swings. Fergus was just being a creep here for a couple of seconds. It goes away, then comes back.
After 8 years, Canadians know this Liberal Prime Minister isn't worth the cost. Over 800,000 Canadians visited a food bank over 6 million times. 41% for the first time ever. The first time ever they had to do it is after 8 years of a Liberal government. Now, that's not bad enough. If these 800,000 people formed a city, it would be the 4th largest city in Ontario, dependent upon feeding themselves at a food bank. This government could do something. Stop holding up Conservative Bill C-234 to take the carbon tax off farmers. Will they do it?
Great question, well worded. I wonder who they're going to send to the plate to answer that one. Only the best, right? Nope. Genocides. Hippy-dippy-dippy. Listen to this one. She drank all the
directly
Kool-Aid.
from Canadian families who are struggling to buy groceries. And on this side of the House, our government continues to make investments to support families through difficult times, investments in affordable housing, investments in early learning and childcare, and the Canada Child Benefit. The Leader of the Opposition continues to oppose these supports. His common sense, Mr. Speaker, is nonsense. On this side of the House, we'll continue to do
That is
all
by far
that
the
we
most
can to
upset
support
I've seen
Canadian
genocides.
families.
She's a real hippie. Seaback is back. Another question. Teasing the Liberals
A
about
Liberal
driving around
minister
in
who gets
limos.
almost $300,000 a year, drives around in a limo, says that it's nonsense to talk about the 800,000 Canadians, Ontarians, who went to a food bank for the first time. This kind of conduct from these Liberals is disgusting. And there's an answer, there's a fix. They could tell their senators to stop blocking Bill C-234, which will take the carbon tax off farmers. You know, the people that feed us. But no, they're not doing it because the delicate sensibilities of the Environment Minister, who says, I'll resign if there's any more cuts to the carbon tax. Will they take it off? Will they pass C-234?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Once again, we have trouble putting the actual facts on the table from the leaders of the Conservative Party of Canada. When it comes to working with the Senate is independent. There's only one party that is directing senators, and that is the Conservative Party of Canada. And as a member of Parliament from Ontario, he should recall the common sense revolution that not only cut services to education, to healthcare, to water, that led to deaths in Walkerton, Mr. Speaker. It was an absolute it was an absolute disaster. Mr. Speaker, Canadians know that their common sense is absolute nonsense. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
You'll notice at the end there, CHYSTIA Freeland is a little cheerleader for Karina Gould. In her answer, just so supportive. I don't feel that, although I'm being invested in. Up next, Rick Perkins, an MP from Nova Scotia who's just getting going. He's learning a way to ask his questions with a little more drama, a little more flair. It's fun to watch. Check it out.
The Honourable Member from South Shore, St. Margaret's.
Notice he didn't say Canadian workers, and on top of that, the Minister of Industry said he's going to hold a meeting with the company to find out from the company what their plans are for the contract he negotiated and signed. I can't make this stuff up. He's got to ask the company what's in the contract he negotiated. $15 billion subsidy is going to cost every Canadian family $1,000 in taxes and leave Canadian union workers in the cold. So will they come clean, release the contract if they've got nothing to hide?
We will take no nonsense from these Conservatives, Mr. Speaker. Attack of the Chihuahua Man.
We'll take no nonsense from the Conservative, Mr. Speaker, especially from our party whose leader, imagine, Mr. Speaker, when he was Minister of Employment that oversaw the loss of not 3,000, not 30,000, but 300,000 manufacturing jobs, Mr. Speaker. It's shameful, Mr. Speaker. With an investment of $3.4 billion by Stellantis, we'll be creating 2,500 jobs at the plant, Mr. Speaker. We're going to continue to invest in Windsor. We'll invest in our worker and we'll invest in our auto industry, Mr. Speaker.
Two things we learned there. Little FPC is a nut. He is a little Chihuahua man dog, like Ren from Ren and Stimpy. And that Rick Perkins is getting better at asking driving questions, so that's fun. So yes, those are the highlights from November 27th from Question Period Canada. It was a fun episode, right? We will be continuing to bring you the information and entertainment in Canadian politics right here every day. I'm Ehren. This is Question Period Canada. Thank you so much for watching. Like, share, subscribe, tell somebody about it. That's all we're asking. Again, thank you for watching. I'm Ehren, Question Period Canada. Catch you tomorrow.